we just getting into this. My name's EDK, Ethan Darkane, just call me EDK. Anyways, basically, here's what happened. So basically, I'm doing a commentary on this crappy video, which tries to call out Persona 4 for being LGBTQ phobic, basically, and transphobic. I'm not going to cover the entire video because that would take too long and obviously would be a waste of time for everyone involved. I do not hate LGBTQ. I am not LGBTQ. I do not hate LGBTQ. That does not, me not being LGBTQ does not affect anything I have to say, and vice versa. And yeah, that's all to say. Now let's get into this. Main point. I love how this video is just great. It's just wrong. For example, for the kanji point, where they try to say that kanji... I'm not going to get into the kanji point, because basically the kanji point isn't even that bad, where they say that kanji might be gay, but they don't really focus on this, which... that isn't a point for LGBTQ phobia. That's more of a point of basically, they didn't really explain it well, so they didn't put much into it, which isn't really discrimination. It's just not putting that much into it, which, I mean, yeah, they didn't need to be honest. They already put enough work into it. Not only that, but two, even then, one could argue that his whole arc wasn't about him being bisexual or anything. It was more about him and his masculinity, and like him wanting to be more open to his open side, but being afraid that he'd be mocked for it, basically. And that was why his shadow appeared. And I mean, well, yeah, you could apply a later statement that he is bi because of what Yosuke's reaction to him after he, connect with his other self, basically, his shadow. Then again, that could just be Yosuke misinterpreting men has a soft side to gay. So yeah, it's more of a misinterpretation on Yosuke. Even though it's not like he's trying to purposely be malicious. Overall, the kanji section is meh, to be honest. Like, they do the section, the game does the section just fine, so I don't really see a point for it being in the video. Now, the Naoto section. The Naoto section is complete and utter garbage. My god. So they try to claim that Naoto is supposed to be a trans man, even though they also admit the game says otherwise, okay, we'll get into that later. But whatever. Here's what they try to say. They try to say that Naoto not showing her boobs and a few other signs, like dressing up as a man, for example, and going by he pronouns, makes them a dude. A transgender dude. And how the game's transphobic as it doesn't go this rate and ignores this entirely and treats her as a woman, and so is everyone else, basically, afterwards, basically. And then she accuses the game of implying that people can't change their gender at all. When they never said that, but it just gets worse. Then afterwards, she basically tries to call the whole party homophobic and other things because they kept calling Naoto she, even though Naoto told her to treat her the same, which, I mean, yeah, they did for the most part treat her the same. Though there was a little difference here and there, but they did. Even though that's not an example of transphobia. And then afterwards, after bringing up a few other articles and other stuff, basically says the equivalent of, you see, Atlas, until you understand how LGBTQ works rightly, I'm going to be taking away your right. I'm going to be taking your rights to use LGBTQ until you learn better. Do better, Atlas. In a condescending tone, of course. It's just nice. Beautiful. Beautiful, man. It's just, you just really need to be condescending. Okay. And shock of all shocks, she's wrong. Okay, minor nitpick. Why is it that people who tend to be the most cocky, narcissistic, and pointy outy when like people do a wrong, basically what they think is a wrong, tend to be either just as, if not even more wrong to a worse extent. I just don't know why. But okay, let's get into the blackness. First of all, alright, Naoto is not a man. I know this is controversial, but she's not. How do we know she's not a man? Well, actually, she explains it. Her shadow, basically. After beating her shadow, basically, she literally says she never wanted to become it wasn't about her becoming a man, but her accepting that she was a woman, basically. And that she never wanted to be a detective to be a man, but to be a woman and a detective. Not only that, she explains that the reason why she dresses up as a man wasn't because she wanted to be transgender, but because she wanted to fit into the detective job. But given the Japanese society and stuff, how that works, she wanted to be taken more seriously, so she decided to dress up as a man and act like it. Not because she actually wanted to become a man. She still embraces that she's a woman, and in later scenes, we see her somewhat embracing this, and alright with doing this. Not only that, she's also fine with the cast calling her she. There's not a problem with it at all. The reason why she says to treat her like normal is because, simply put, to treat her as a normal person, not as anything special. She doesn't mind that they're calling her a woman now because, well, Naoto is a woman. It'd be like if a man was offended, he was called a man. It'd be stupid. It'd make no sense. So no, the cast is not LGBTQ phobic because they are respecting her pronouns. Her pronouns are she. If anything, they were kind of disrespecting it before because they just assumed that she was a man, which, assuming someone's a man just because they dress up manly is sexist. That's just rude, man. Like, isn't that kind of sexist? Because you're assuming someone's sex based off how they dress. That's pretty shallow if you ask me. Not only that, all your articles don't work because this game. Not only that, all your articles and stuff don't work. No, also the point about the trans thing. The game isn't saying that. When Naoto's shadow brings up the barrier, the reason why she brings this up isn't because they're saying that you can't change your gender at all. She's saying this as in there's a difference between men and women in society, which in Japanese society, at the time at least, was true. And somewhat is still today. Also, all your articles do not work well because simply put, you're getting mad at Atlas for something they did for 2008, basically. Our perspective on LGBTQ and other stuff like that basically has changed since then. It's been 12 to 13 years since Persona 4 came out, which came out in like 2008. How gender is viewed and expressed basically is different, and there's way more to it now than when we knew back then, which is why certain concepts basically don't exist for the most part to the public, basically, and it exists to Atlas. Liz, not only that, you're trying to take away their LGBTQ rights because the rights talk about LGBTQ, even though this happened a decade ago. A decade where not much was known about the LGBTQ for the most part. All we knew back then was gay, lesbian, bi, maybe pan. That's all we knew for the most part. That's all. That's it. That's literally it. Now later on, we'd realize that there were more sexualities and other stuff like that, basically. So overall, you being condescending and rude and accusing Atlas of being LGBTQ phobic is really disgusting and not generous at all. Not only that, because, well, one, when they show Yusuke being, when Yusuke does act, shit, damn it. Stop my meme. Not that one. Jeez. Alright. When Yusuke is being LGBTQ phobic, which he's more being insecure than, he's more being not nice than actually discriminatory, basically. It's never painted as a good thing. It's obviously painted as not a nice thing to do. And the cast aren't being homophobic when they still refer to Naoto as she. Naoto chose to be a woman. That was her choice. Your headcanon does not matter. It does not matter what you believe when it comes to canon. If the canon says she's a woman, she's a woman. If they said that she was a man, she'd be a man. But they didn't. They said that she was a woman. It does not matter what you believe she is. It matters what she actually is. So maybe you do better, Liz. Also, in case you don't believe me, also in case you just don't believe me for some reason, where is it? Damn it. Why didn't I organize this sooner? Alright. Let me read for you the quotes, just in case you don't believe me. What I yearn for, no, what I must strive for isn't to become a man. It's to accept myself for who I really am. I finally think I can accept myself, that I'm a woman and a detective. I really feel glad that I'm a woman. Naoto is a girl. The reason she wanted to be a man wasn't because she was trans, but because she thought she'd be accepted as a detective. She became one. The whole point of her arc, as well as Kanji's, is that it doesn't matter what your gender are, what your sexuality is, but rather your character. People who think she is trans clearly haven't played Persona 4 in Balcony to this day. From the video that I got this through, which I will link in the description later. Thank you for making this quick video. You couldn't have said it any better than I couldn't have said it any better than you did, basically. Overall, yeah. Liz Berry, your video sucked. Maybe chill out, bro.